I found about the Egyptians in Ohio was actually from a paper that was written. It's postulating it. I guess they took a lot of the evidence that they had been finding and saying this shows that there might have actually been Egyptians there.
That's from 1937?
That's when the guy was, I think, born. This is 40 years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
That amulet was brass, apparently, and it was found near Cincinnati. And where I actually think that it might have been trade routes, because there was some stones that have been found in various parts of the world that are from specifically Ohio, because it's like a rainbow shale that was used in like arrowheads and stuff a long, long time ago. Like that area was used to make weapons, like the first 12,000 years ago when the first people were kind of in North America. But that area in Ohio also is known as the sandstone capital of the world, and I don't know if that's related to the Egyptians, because that's what the pyramids are made out of. There's tons of sandstone that is very specific to that region.
Yeah.
So,
pyramids made out of sandstone?
I thought so. Yeah,
I've heard this,
there's 21 from 1800 to 1980. 21 times the amount of sandstone that made the Great Pyramid was shipped out of Ohio to make various buildings all over the world.
Really?
Most of them in the United States, obviously, but all over the place.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, just weird facts I found after Graham came
History
through.
of the humans.
We don't know history.
We know some. All right?
The only history that we know is the one we go discover on our own time. The one that's presented to us is not history. It's all lies.
Well, it's not all lies.
All of it.
There's some lies.
I found that too. I didn't
Lost civilization in Grand Canyon was, Egyptian?
Yeah, the Smithsonian published some stuff in 1909,
Oh, wow.
I guess, that where all this came from. There was an article that got written, and I don't know how much of it they proved or was proven, or it was just newspaper. It's like bait back in the day.
Look at this.
kind of,
Even
but-
more amazing, the artifacts didn't match up to anything on the known record. Rather than appearing to be of Native American origin, as one might expect, the object had distinct Egyptian or Tibetan designs. Could there have been an entire civilization of Egyptians living here? If so, how did they get here? Dun, dun, dun.
It's not that hard. Hop in a boat, man. You got cats that leave Africa and try to come to Spain on these places on a chicken wing.
Yeah.
You know?
It is interesting, right? Like the population of Cuba. Cuba's so insanely diverse, and it's right there. Like, what is the history of that other than the slave routes? Like, what is the history of Cuba? Because Cuba has very distinct African people living there.
The whole Caribbean, all that whole area is has a lot of African roots to it. But it's just a place that was conquered by the Spain, by the Cortezes, those type of people.
What really disturbs me is there's no way to know exactly what happened. It's like you're piecing things together based on artifacts and historical record, things that people wrote down, and journals and logs. And
there's people that have traveled. So, again, I've studied this so long ago, but I remember reading primary source from somebody that traveled with Cristobal Colon, a.k.a. Christopher Columbus. And he was saying very specific things about his accounts when he reached these different places. And he was saying things like, we got to the land and we found Africans. And I remember him specifically saying, so no matter where we go, we find Africans. And he said it as if he was disappointed. And then they started talking about, they started talking about their culture and describing their culture. You just got to go look at the people that travel with Cristobal Colon, and there's some firsthand accounts there. And they're very honest about it,
Dude, I'm going to look into that now. That's very interesting. I'm going to ask Graham about that, too, what he knows about it. He's studied, especially on his latest book, he studied a lot about the various cultures that made it to North America and South America.
Okay. Yeah. It's just very rich in history. Very, very rich in history.
Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza is probably the most stunning of all these ancient structures. And the stones are immense, and some of them were cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away. How do you think they did that?
Well, some of them, the granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its roof are, the ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
Stunning detail.
Stunning detail. Those blocks on the roof of the King's Chamber weigh 70 tons each. Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet sand. Well, maybe if you're just at ground level, that will do. But when you're 350 feet above the ground, as you are in the King's Chamber, that won't do at all. I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking again at a lost technology. And it was this ancient apocalypse 12,800 years ago that wiped that from the human memory banks almost completely, not entirely completely because there were survivors, but removed most of it. Randall will tell you, sea level rise, it creates a powerful high energy zone. Mm-hmm. Anything that was existing on those flooded coastlines has just been pounded to hell. I mean, talk about it, Randall.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot more energetic than now. I mean, imagine your sea level rising at 3 or 4 times at least faster than we've seen rise in the last century. And within there, juxtaposed are these episodes of very rapid sea level rise. So you're talking about a very energetic intertidal zone. And anything that's there, short of large megalithic blocks, is going to be utterly obliterated by the time the process is through. And I think that this is one of the things that, you know, the archaeologists and the prehistorians, people are looking at that, have failed to take into account the severity of these events we're talking about. Because the question always is, where are the artifacts? Where's the pottery? Where is the evidence that this civilization existed? And I have 2 responses to that. One, you don't realize the extent of the total remodeling of this planetary surface that took place. Because, I mean, we could get into some of the stuff here. I have tons of images where I think maybe we'll get a chance to pull up a couple of really awesome drone footage here before we're done. But once you begin to wrap your head around this, you go, really? You know, it's like, imagine that you drop an atomic bomb on a city and it completely obliterates it. And then a short while later, you drop another one on the same place. What's going to be left? And then 10,000 years, 20,000 years goes by. What are you going to what are you going to find? What are you going to look for? You know, it's going to be just rubble that gets reincorporated just into the geological stratum, and it's going to be very difficult to differentiate, for example, from what's called a conglomeratic rock, which is basically we have just a huge jumble of broken rock cemented together. Right? Now, within there could be all kinds of stuff that's not even recognized as being artificial in the sense that humans had anything to do with it. The other thing is when we talk about these ancient technologies, if we're only looking for a mere reflection of ourselves, we could overlook it completely, because I think there's evidence that exists now. I mean, some modern researchers whose work has been buried or suppressed, I think we're getting very close to rediscovering some of the things that our ancient ancestors were up to. And maybe this would be worth a whole show in itself. We could dive into this, and I don't want to get into that today.
But what kind of technologies are you talking about?
Well, I shouldn't really get into that.
Get into it.
Get into
Come
it,
on.
Randall.
We got to get into it.
Okay, well.
We've opened the door, sir.
Okay. Well, okay.
The passing of the HDMI cable.
The passing.
A sacred moment.
Well, there are people out there now who have been working on trying to rediscover that. And again, I don't want to digress too much into this now, because I would really rather be able to give a whole treatment of it, and it might kind of derail us a little bit from this. But there are people who've been working on these things for decades now, basically in secret. And I've had the privilege of talking to some of these people over the last 6 or 7 years. And right now, as we're speaking, there's a group of people who are basically going to open source a whole lot of stuff in the next 3 months, so it can never get suppressed again. And that's why I'd like to come back and talk in more detail.
Well, I'd love to have you come back and talk about it, but we got to talk about it a little bit now.
Okay. Well, there's a laboratory right now in the Maldives that's been building prototypes using these technological principles, which are based on implosion rather than explosion. And the inspiration for this... Tesla's
ideas are part of it, I think you mentioned.
Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. Yes, Tesla's ideas are very much a part of it. So is, I don't know if you ever, Victor Schauberger, who
No.
did the work with water and discovered, look at, Jamie, could you look up Victor? Oh, I have the cable now, don't I?
Take it back. Let me find a video.
Well, no. Let me pull something up here, and
I think the key thing is we're looking at technologies that are not the same as ours.
Yes.
And that's
Yes,
partly
that's the
why
point.
archaeologists can't see them, because they're looking for us in the past, and they're not open to the possibility that there are whole other kinds of technology that could be used.
Right.
I always go back to the ancient Egyptian traditions that speak of priests chanting as these huge blocks were lifted into the air. Were they using some kind of sound effect, some kind of use of sound that was able to manipulate matter? We know that sound can manipulate matter, as a matter of fact, but they're lifting these blocks. It's again and again it appears in ancient Egyptian traditions. The notion that we could lift huge blocks with sound seems absurd to archaeologists, and yet it's there in the traditions of the Egyptologists. And what Randall's talking about now is people who are working on a whole alternative path of technology, and maybe that's a rediscovery of the kind of technologies that were used by a lost civilization.
I think that's what's important about what you're saying, is that we have this very limited idea of technology based on what we've experienced.
Yeah.
But if you had anatomically similar human beings that lived for thousands and thousands of years.
Stuff just keeps on getting
Yeah.
older.
If you think about the amount of progress that we've achieved as modern humans just in the last few hundred years,
Yeah.
if you go back 400 years to now, it's a stunning amount of achievement.
Absolutely stunning.
And if you have a completely different path of technology,
Yeah.
one that's not utilizing internal combustion engines and cranes and
Yeah.
and the like that we experience
leverage,
today.
mechanical
Yeah.
advantage, everything that our tech is based around.
Something that's insanely advanced, tens of thousands of years of a different path.
Yeah.
And that may be what we're looking at.
And that may begin to explain these otherwise inexplicable monuments that have survived.
Jamie, do I need? There we go. This is the work of Nikola Tesla. And he was, again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to
Okay.
talking about this.
Okay.
But this is, this was the inspiration. You know, his work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall.
Yes. And again, I don't want to get into it today, but like, here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. Mm-hmm. And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies. Everything vibrates. Have you ever, like if we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, bzz, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. And I think that's the basic idea of what we're looking at here. And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So we're now free to talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. I think it would be a good idea to get me back on here. We can look at it. I'm going to lay this on Graham so he can look at it too, because I really want to get Graham's feedback on this.
I mean, would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
Yeah.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them? Whoa,
Yes.
what is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it. That's what he said.
Nice.
So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda, the car manufacturer in Japan, is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff. And it's amazing.
And what would be the fuel?
Well, plasmoids. Plasmoids, as it says here, are donut or toroidal-shaped clusters of net protons or net electrons that once captured and placed into a toroidal orbit are capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy within their self-generated and structured electromagnetic containment field. Plasmoids, in effect, function as an atomic battery that can be self-charging due to its ability to convert matter to available clean energy. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about today.
At least what's promising is that there is some, at least, research or understanding.
And it's actually quite mature at this point. And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on this same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go the next.
Now, what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that, there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology, which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them. And much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe for people that are curious about this and maybe even skeptical, consider the massive change that nuclear power provided us. Whereas before the 1940s, this was unheard of.
Yeah.
This even the concept of it. And all of a sudden now we have nuclear power, nuclear weapons, the most profound power known to man currently.
God help us, it's a power for use by adults, but unfortunately it's delinquent children who are leading our world right now. The leaders of our planet, the politicians out there, they're just complete assholes. I can't think of any of them who I feel any respect for whatsoever. And it's they who are in charge of this frightening, terrifying technology. We just aren't mature enough as a civilization to manage technology like that. You have to get that level of maturity.
The man that was at the head of this research that is looking at structures that are underneath the bottom of the pyramid. And incredibly controversial, very fascinating, and if it's accurate, it essentially rewrites all of human history.
Yes. Thank you for this invitation. And yes, the group is composed by Corrado Malanga, which is the head of the group and the dean professor of chemistry at the University of Pisa.
Could you explain your background, please, so people will understand?
Yeah. Yes, my background is this. I am a telecommunication engineering. I graduate at the university.
What is that word again? Say it again.
Telecommunication engineering.
Telecommunications engineer. Okay. It's like your English is excellent, but the Italian accent, although fabulous, sometimes it's difficult to translate.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'm sorry, yes, that I'm not mother tongue of English.
It's still much better than my Italian.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I graduated myself in university at the University of Lecce, south of Italy. Very nice university, and it has the name of a famous mathematic Italian, which is Ennio De Giorgi. Ennio De Giorgi was living in the era then John Nash was living also, and they were one against to the other, and they was both studying the 19 Hilbert problem, and Ennio De Giorgi solved this problem 1 week before John Nash.
Ah, interesting. John
Yeah.
Nash, who from the famous movie A
Yes.
Brilliant Mind with
Yes.
Russell Crowe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then I performed my PhD at La Sapienza in Rome, and now I'm here.
And how did you get involved in this discovery?
Yes, I worked on radar and synthetic aperture radar for a lot of time. Radar
For the Italian military, right?
Yes,
Some work,
Yes, some
which you
work
can't
for-
really talk about.
No.
Right.
And I was involved in some research where, together with the Italian Research Council of Bari, always south of Italy, we was testing some special processing that were able to perform something special, and so this is.
So, this top secret research that you work on for the Italian government led you to try this stuff out, try this technology
Yes.
out. And this is satellite-based technology,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And it's radio tomography?
Yes, it is something, in my personal opinion, very simple. The radar is installed on board on the satellite. The satellite flies in the space at a distance of 600 kilometers at 7 kilometers per second in velocity. So while it flies along the orbit, it is able to catch snapshots of the Earth. The snapshots has to be focused, and this focusing procedure, let's say it in the azimuth, I take it easy, in the azimuth direction, is done by sound, by the processing of sound, because it is involved at the so-called Doppler frequency. You know, Joe, when you hear noises that are approaching to you, this noise will raise the frequency because the target has a velocity, a positive velocity with respect to you. And so the frequency is raised up. And this procedure allows us to estimate or to grab, let's say, the vibration information that is always present at the surface of the Earth in terms of evanescent waves that are present on the surface of the Earth. So this vibration, which is mechanical vibration, carries inside of this the information that is located underground. And so we did this.
And was it a specific idea? Was it the idea specifically to look under the pyramids, or was this something that was discovered accidentally?
Okay, yes. Once we discovered this method, it was a coincidence that I knew Corrado Malanga. At that time, we are in 2018, he was studying the pyramids. And so we were talking about something that if there was some methods able to scan inside the pyramids, because he needed some information to conclude the research that he was doing. And so I proposed him to use my technique, and we started to work together, and so we focused in that time on the pyramids.
And when was this? When was the first scans?
Yes, in 2019.
In 2019.
Yeah.
And when you got the data back, did you immediately get the data that you're showing today, where you see the columns with the coils around it?
Okay. Let's say that this research can be divided by two. The first one, 1.0, we were concentrating research on the Khnum Khufu pyramid, the Cheops pyramid, to watch inside the pyramid. And so we have tailored our processing to watch only inside the pyramids, because that pyramid, only one pyramid, because we were doing that kind of research. Then once we discovered things in 2020, we published a peer review paper, and we gave public the results that we found inside the Khnum Khufu pyramid. We decided to expand our research in all the Giza Plateau.
Can I stop you there? When you looked into, so we know quite a bit about the Khufu pyramid and what the chambers are inside of it. Did this technology accurately describe the pyramid itself and the insides of it, the chambers that we know exist?
Absolutely yes, because we have detected this multi-layer structure that is inside the Khnum Khufu pyramid, the so-called Z. We have discovered it very well from the space, and it is located inside the pyramid. And also we discovered the new. We gave an image also of the other known structures, like the Grand Gallery.
The Grand Gallery.
The Grand Gallery. And then also the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber also. So.
And accurate in terms of size.